Hello and welcome to the guide slash showcase video for the token variant art module. In this video, I won't be going through every single setting that the module provides, of which there are quite many, and about which you can go to the module's GitHub page and the Wikipedia section to read up a bit more about. Instead, I'll guide you through the steps required to get some of the core functionality of the module going from scratch. So just to give a little taster, I'll be showing you how to get the indexing and searching of your asset folders going. For example, quickly looking up all of the vampires you might have lying about, or I don't know, orcs, warriors, and quickly apply this art to any given token on the scene. I'll explain how this little neat quick access menu works, both for you as well as your users, if you wish to give access of it to them. I'll also show how the module can expand upon and give a bit more flexibility to the Foundry's randomization feature. I'll show you how the module is capable of applying various overlays, configurations, running scripts, etc. based on, for example, assignment of status effects, like so, or changes in the HP value of the token, or its rotation, even perhaps the folder that the token is stored in. Also go a bit into the more in-depth and complicated topic of composite effects. For example, if I apply sword, see a sword effect gets applied, as well as a crown, and the crown gets applied if either sword or whip gets applied to the token. Yeah, I will be covering these as well as a few other features and settings, but you can find all of the timestamps in the video description down below, as well as the link to the GitHub page and the Wikipedia page. But that said, just let's get to it. All right, let's say you have folders upon folders of token artwork, item icons, actor portraits that you've accrued over time. Or perhaps you have just downloaded a massive asset pack from our Patreon you follow, and now you're in need of a quick and convenient means of sifting through all of the artwork and bringing it up as and when you need it. Well, the module can help you with that through various means. For example, these sort of art select menus that you can bring up by, for example, pressing one of the configurable controls that the module provides, such as these. So swapping out artwork. You can also bring it up by right-clicking the active portrait. It's also accessible under configuration forms. For example, the token configuration. You'll notice this new button that will bring it up. It's also available under tile configuration form, template configuration form, and when you click the item icons, the item sheets. Besides these options, the module will also make the artwork available through this quick access menu on the token HUD. The module will use the token's name and search all of the artwork and present it to you. You can change the search criteria by right-clicking the button and then entering, for example, dragon. I'm going to quickly swap it out. The module is also capable of using the artwork through randomization. For example, using this goblin. This is using the goblin's name rather than the core Foundry's wildcard feature. And lastly, the module can apply and put these images to use via the compendium mapper. So the module will look at any unlocked compendium that you specify over here, and then either automatically or through aided manual means allow you to remap your actors within the compendium. For example, if you don't select this auto apply button, start, there you go. The module will identify all of the actors in the compendium and then guide you through the process of searching for and applying the art. So changing the accolade to this. Already like that. Adult blue dragon. I want to change it to this. So on. Well, for the module to be able to do any of this, it first needs to be made aware of the artwork that you have. And the way this is done is by going to the configure settings, then under token variant art, going into configure settings again, and then under search paths, you'll find this table over here. By default, the module will point to the Keora maps, tokens, and assets folder, whether you have the module or not. If you want to add additional paths, what you need to do is press this little plus icon, which will add a new row. And now you can either manually type in the path within your Foundry's data folder, or pressing this little folder icon over here, which will bring up a directory browser. And then you just need to navigate to the folder you want the module to look into, and take note that you don't have to point it to a specific folder. It's fine to point it to the top level folder, and the module will then look at every subfolder within that top directory as well. If I click select directory, you'll see the path will get automatically populated, and when I press save changes, a notification will pop up telling you how many images the module was able to find and cache. I'll explain the caching in just a moment, but just to see whether the new path works or not, let's left click this button to open up the quick access menu. And now you see there's a lot more artwork for this little goblin over here. You can now click and swap him into. And note, because I'm not using the core Foundry's randomization, but rather the token variant arts randomization, these new images that the module is now exposed to will be included in the randomization. All right, what you just saw was how to set up a directory within your Foundry data folder. But there are a few other sources that the module also accepts. For example, if you have a configured S3 bucket, you can add one by adding a new row and type in S3. And here you go. The module now picks it up as a S3 bucket, which you can see because the icon has been changed. If I want to add, for example, a roll table, I click plus again, I type in roll table. See, once again, the icon changes. And now if I click it, the module will show me all the roll tables that I have, which there is just one at the moment. But if I select it, it now gets added in, and now the module will actually source the images through the roll table. I have two images set up here, see Zog and Elenithia. If I click save changes, let's delete this kit. Click this save changes. Now if I into the quick access menu, it won't show up here because the module is performing the search using the name goblin. But if I actually enter Zog, see, now Zog shows up. Elenithia. Here you go. Besides roll tables, the module can also accept, for example, JSON files. The format that it accepts you can look up on the module's GitHub page. Just to show it off, if I type JSON, again, the icon changes. Just quickly point the module to example JSON. Okay. And there an art folder. The docs, there's a JSON sample. The wowhead icon, select, save changes. See significantly more images than now. All right, with the JSON file path added, if I open up the art select window again, section, you'll find all of the images under that JSON file are available here. Now for the last image source that the module accepts, these are imager gallery IDs. If I type in imager, you'll once again notice that the icon changes in recognition that this is an imager path now. And if you type in the ID, in theory, the module should be able to pick up all the images in that gallery and present them to you. Unfortunately, there's a limitation. Imager has some protections in place that prevents the local Foundry client from being able to query for images. To get around this, you would need to log into your browser, and only then would the module actually be able to pick up those images. To get around this, you can actually use a little button over here to convert the imager gallery to a role table. And by converting it to a role table, it would then become accessible on your local client. To showcase this, I will actually use the JSON file path because it supports the exact same conversion to role table functionality. So under role tables, you'll notice they only have one role table at the moment. But if I press this button, an additional one shows up. And the path that was previously pointing to the JSON file now points to the role table. If I click the role table, you will see in a moment here that all the images have been remapped to the role table format, are available with their names inside of it. So the exact same thing can be done with imager galleries. And once again, if you go to your browser, perform this conversion, all of those images that were previously in an imager gallery will now be in a role table, ergo are now accessible via the local client. It's an annoying limitation, but that's one of the ways you can get around it. So that's all the sources covered, but I've yet to mention what these two settings do on the right here. So caching. So the way the module works is that on world load or settings change, the module will look all inside all of the paths they've set up and index and cache all of the images that it could find and store all of those in memory. This is for the purpose of speeding up the image searches significantly. It's not that significant if you're hosting Foundry yourself, but if you're on Foundry VTT or some other hosting website, the speeds can be rather slow for querying deeply nested directories. So it's just a means to speed the search functionality up. The only reason you would really want to turn these off is if you're actively working within a directory. For example, you have a character folder for a new character that you're developing, and you're rapidly making changes to the images inside of that, and you want the module to be up to date with the images in there as you're setting everything up. That's the only reason that you would turn this off. For all other reasons, having the cache enabled is good enough. Once again, the speed isn't that noticeable in majority of cases, so you can experiment with this and find something that works for you. And for the last setting, category, this is to group all of the images under paths under specific categories. For example, if I click it, you'll see a bunch of them over here. By default, the module will assign every path to portrait, and token categories. And the way these categories work is that the module will perform specific searches under specific categories depending on context. If you're clicking this button under the token HUD, the module will perform searches under the token category. If you right-click the portrait, the module will perform searches under the portrait category. So for example, if I went in and changed the Keora category just before tokens, top-down tokens will also be just for tokens. Click Save. Now, when I click this quick access menu, see they still show up under the token category. But if I right-click the portrait, all of a sudden, the module is not finding any art for it. If you go to the top of the Art Select menu, you can actually change the category. So you see at the moment, the module is searching the portrait category. But if I change it to token, here we go. Once again, all of the images are available for you. So it's just a way of kind of categorizing and limiting the images that show up in context that you don't want them to. Use it if you wish, not necessary, but again, just a little convenient kind of conversation tool. Yeah, that's about it for the search paths. There are ways to, once again, filter the images even inside those search paths, change slightly how the search algorithm works. But you can look up the module's Wikipedia page to read up a bit more about it. Yeah, that'll be a bit about it for search paths, and let's move on to the next feature. Right, in this portion of the video, we'll be covering the token HUD, this new button that gets added by the module to help you to quickly swap out token images. So let's say you have a shapeshifter, a polymorpher. Perhaps someone in your party can don various different kinds of armor. Perhaps they can all hold torches and you want to visually represent that by changing out the token image. Well, the module can help you with that by this quick access menu, allowing you to quickly and efficiently swap out your tokens to different images. Well, there are various different ways of adding images to this menu, and I will be covering them in this section. This is the list. We'll be going top down, explaining how each one of these works and how to set them up. So to begin with, we have name search. In the search paths section of this video, I covered how you can expose various image directories to the module. Once they are exposed to the module is capable of performing searches on those images. By default, the module will perform token name searches on any directory you've exposed to it. For example, if I click the button here, you'll see that the module at the moment is unable to find any images that match the token name player 2. So let's change that by adding a player folder to the module. So let's go to configure settings and configure settings again under token variant art. Then under search paths, let's add a new one and point it to the player folder. Click save. Now, while previously you only saw the current image assigned to the token, now you can see these additional images. You probably can't see it under the recording, but when you hover over these images, it will tell you the image name, and this particular image is named player variant 1, and this one player variant 2. Ergo, they match up against the name of the token, and they get displayed in a side menu. One of the issues with this is that, for example, if you have two similarly named actors, now both of these images will get shown up under both of the actors. There we go. But perhaps you only want these images to be assigned to this particular token. So that will take us to the second way of adding images to a token, which is image directory flags. Let's quickly remove the path that we just added. Go delete. To show that the path got removed and the module is no longer able to find any of those images or either of the tokens. We can now instead do for this particular token is right click the button, go to flags, and then under image directory, you can browse the directories, navigate to our player folder again, set the flag, and now that particular folder is assigned to this token. You can see we can see the images, the two images that are contained with that folder again. But now under this different actor, those images are no longer visible. So just a quick way of assigning a directory to a particular actor allow you to quickly swap between those images without actually affecting any of the other actors in your game. Well, that's it for image directories. Let's quickly remove that by going to flags and unsetting the flag. And we're no longer seeing both of the images, but just the current one assigned to the token. So the third way of assigning images to the side menu are the wildcards. Well, wildcards are a core Foundry feature, allowing you to randomize your tokens based on a bunch of images that you have in a folder using a wildcard. So let's show you how to set it up. If we go to the actors, our player 2 actor, under prototype token, if we go under appearance, here we go, we have our image path. If we navigate to our player folder, player, we have both of our images. Select one of them, and now let's replace this image name with a wildcard. Is this asterisk over here? So now the module will match all the images that are within this folder match this wildcard, which is anything. You could also, for example, give partial matches like player wildcard, which means that if you have multiple images in that particular folder that have player underscore something something, but you also have, I don't know, like goblin underscore something something, there's just a way to separate between those two. But let's just match everything within that folder. Click update token. So now our prototype is updated, and now the module will once again be able to discover all the images within a folder. So that's it for wildcards. So the last means of adding images to the side menu are sharing. And sharing is very much a module specific feature, which is activated by right-clicking any image in the side menu. For example, you click this one, this green-red arrow gets added to it, indicating that this particular image is now shared, meaning that it's now attached to this actor, and also it means that now this image is exposed to your players as well. So if this token belongs to your player, if they click the side menu over here, this little button, now they'll be able to see all of these green arrow shared images. If you want your player to see both of them, you would share both of them. Now, at the moment, this doesn't seem very useful. We're just we're right-clicking images that are already in the side menu. It's not really accomplishing much on your end, at least. But if we combine this with the fact that we can perform manual searches, we, for example, search vampire, see, temporarily, these images get added to the side menu. We click away, they disappear and don't reappear. But we repeat the search, and now we share the image or attach the image to the actor. And when we return to the side menu, see, now they're attached to the actor. You don't have to use the module search feature. You can also use the file picker to navigate to any folder you want. Let's say top-down tokens, all of the pirates. And you can quickly just select all of the images that you want to be attached to the actor. Here you go. Just a quick, easy way of attaching images to the actor and swapping between them. As I mentioned, this also exposes the image to your players, but it's possible to disable this sharing with your players in the module settings if you wish. All right, we covered all of the ways that you can add images to the side menu, but there's actually a couple of different features that you can activate through the side menu as well that do not relate to the management of images. Let's say your player 3 can transform into a dragon from whatever means he might have. Polymorphing, I don't know, wild shaping, whatever. Let's quickly look up a dragon. Let's say he can transform to a red dragon. Let's attach this image as well so we can just return to it after we swap to the dragon. If we click the dragon, you see the token image and the token itself are pretty small. Well, the module can let you remedy that via token configurations. If you shift left click an image in the side menu, this token configuration form will open up, allowing you to attach any of these properties to the image itself. For example, our dragon, let's say we want them to be of grid size 2x2, and save that. Now, a little cog icon shows up on the image, indicating that a token configuration is now associated with this image. And now, when we swap to it via the token HUD side menu, there you go, the token increases in size. The token will also automatically revert when we swap back to our image. Of course, you can do a lot more than the size changes. For example, if you have a character holding a torch, you could assign a light source to that token. So let's just give it a yellow colored light radius rather. So let's give it dim light 20. Then click save. And when we swap to the dragon, it increases the size and also gives a light source to the token. To remove this configuration, you can shift left click the image again and just remove config. So that's for token configurations. The last feature that you can activate via the side menu are the user to image mappings, which let you to map specific images to specific players. So for example, you can have the same token be visible with one image to one player, to player 2 for example, but display a different image to player 3. And the way you activate this feature is by shift right clicking the image. So let's say we want player 2 to see this particular token as a ghost for whatever reason. Let's quickly look up a ghost. Here we go, we have a ghost. Let's just quickly attach it to our token. It's easily accessible. Now, if we shift right click this image, this user to image form will pop up, allowing you to map this ghost image to a specific user. Let's say select player 2, click apply. Well, nothing changes because we're a game master. But now if you left click the button again and go to the side menu, you see that there is now a new outline around the image. And if you stay hovered over this image, you probably can't still see it in the recording, but it will say the name of the image, but will also tell you that now this image is displayed to the player 2. So just to quickly showcase what the player 2 sees, we shift right click the image again and set it to the ghost for ourselves as well. See, the image gets transformed into a ghost. And if we go into token configuration, we'll see that the actual token is actually still that of the warlock with a staff. So that's essentially what the player 2 sees. Remove that from ourselves and still leave it on player 2. We can now see the original image while player 2 is still seeing the ghost. One additional thing that you can do through this menu is actually completely hide the token. You can assign a specific image to be invisible. So let's say your ghost is actually supposed to completely render the token invisible to player 2. You could point this invisible image to be that of the ghost, and now whenever you assign player 2 to that ghost, your player will actually be completely unable to see the token. It will, for all intents and purposes, become invisible. So it's just a means of both showing different kinds of images to your players, depending on perhaps your mental state of your players in game, or just completely hiding the tokens and just messing with the party in that particular way. It can also be used as a safety feature if some of your players have arachnophobia. You can swap out all your spiders for different kinds of images. So there are many different kinds of uses for it, and yeah, I think that's about it for it. That's about it for the token HUD menu. There are a few other settings that you get exposed to if you right click the button, but I'll be covering them in their own separate topics. And yeah, that's about it. Let's move on to the next feature. In this section of the video, we'll be covering randomization. Well, Foundry already comes with some randomization features via the token wildcard randomization. For example, I have an actor here that is set up with this feature. So if I drag in this actor onto the canvas, you'll notice the token that gets created as a randomized image. However, this comes with some limitations. For example, if we go under the actor, the prototype token, the appearance tab, and look at the image path, we'll see that the wildcard matches all of the images under this one specific folder, the Blood Eye Tribe folder. If this folder contains any subfolders, those will not get included in the randomization. It will only match the files that are directly placed within this specific folder. If you want to include any additional images, you will need to plop them here. Also, token that has already been randomized and placed on a canvas, copy and paste, will not get randomized again. Additionally, look at the actor portrait, you'll see that that doesn't get randomized either. Well, the module is not limited to any of this. So let's get into and see how you can set it up using the TVA. All right, let's say we have a Goblin NPC over here, which at the moment is not set up with randomization at all, wildcard or otherwise. But for example, if we click the side menu here, get the quick access menu, you see that the module is already recognizing a lot of the images configured under the search path setting. How to configure the search path setting, you can refer to the search paths section of this video, the timestamp that you can find down in the video below, description down below. All right, so we have all of these images that the module is already aware of. How do we actually use these? Well, the module's randomization works at two different levels, global and actor-specific level. If we go to the module settings under configure settings, then token variant art, and configure settings again, go to the randomizer, you'll find a set of settings that will get applied to all actors and tokens in your world. However, if we go to the token HUD and right-click this button, you'll see randomizer pop up here as well. If we click that, you'll find a set of settings that will just get applied to this specific actor, the actor that represents this token. All right, but for now, let's say we want to enable randomization for all of our NPCs. How do we do this? So we go under the randomizer settings, and first of all, we'll find a number of events that can trigger randomization. We can trigger randomization on actor create and randomize the portrait. We can trigger randomization on token create, a token being dragged from the actor directory onto the canvas. And then we can randomize the token image on token copy and paste. And we can copy and paste the token on the canvas. Control C, Control V. Then we have a number of options to use as the source for the randomizer. For example, we may want to use the token name. We perform the searches and randomize using those. So that would correspond to all of the images that we see in the side menu here, as this side menu uses the token image name search to display the images here. We can also include the keywords. For example, if this token's name was Red Goblin, both of these will get separated out to two separate keywords. The module will perform the search on the word red, and it will also perform the search on the word goblin. So it's just a way of including both of these words separately as searches that get added as to the randomizer. Shared correspond to images that we right-click and share. And wildcard is just a means of building on top of the core Foundry's wildcard feature, while also adding names, keywords, and shared images as well into the mix. Let's just rename back this goblin. Click the goblin. You'll see that the module is finding a lot of artwork for it. All right, let's say we want to use all these images. Let's just select this token name search. And let's say we want, down here below, we can disable randomization for various tokens and actor types. So let's say we only want randomizer to work for NPCs. So let's disable randomization for player characters, vehicles, and groups. All right. And oh yes, we forgot to choose events. Let's randomize on token create as well as token copy and paste. All right, so let's review what we've done. We went to the global randomization settings and we enabled randomization on token create, token copy and paste. We're including token's name in the searches that the module will perform to find all of the images that it will add to the randomizer. And then we disabled randomization for player characters, vehicles, and groups. Let's click Save. Now, we have our Goblin NPC. for which we have now enabled randomization. If we drop him in, we'll notice that now NPC gets randomized. But if I drop in the goblin player character, we'll see that the image does not get randomized, even though the module is able to find all of these images for this player character, and it's able to find all of these images for this NPC. All right, that's global randomization. If you want to go in depth into every single one of these settings, you can refer to the Wikipedia page, but that's kind of the general gist of how you can enable randomization at a global level for all of your actors and tokens. All right, so now we just disabled randomization on the global level. Now if we copy and paste, drag in the actor, goblin NPC, he's no longer getting randomized. All right, so let's enable it just for this actor. Let's go under randomizer. We get a similar set of settings. We have different events that can trigger randomization. Let's trigger it on token create. Well, I guess to showcase it, let's just trigger it on copy and paste, just to show that the module recognizes these events as different. And let's also apply token image to portrait as well. Why not? And let's include the token name. Yeah, let's cover these in just a moment, just to show that these settings actually are going into effect. Let's click apply. Now if we drop in the token, see that it doesn't get randomized. If we copy and paste it, it does get randomized. But right, that's using token name search. Let's include some additional criteria for which images get added to the randomizer. Let's say we want to include shared images as well. Let's say we want to add some random images into the mix. Let's search for dragons, and let's share, add a green arrow to all these images as well. And because in the randomizer we just specified that we want to include these images as well, now that we copy and paste this token, see the dragons get thrown into the mix too. We disable it, but still include the token name. It's only picking up the images that it was able to find using the search feature alone. We disable the token name, but include the shared images. The module will only use the images that we shared, just all of the dragons. And notice if we double click it and check the actor image, you'll see that it's being set with the randomized token image. And to disable randomization, you just go to the randomizer and just click remove, and that will clear all of the randomization settings. Now when we copy and paste, see that the randomization is disabled. But yeah, that's a brief look to the randomization settings. Once again, if you want to go into a bit more detail about this, you can refer to the Wikipedia page. But yeah, will be about it. The next feature we're going to cover is effect mappings, accessed via the Shift+G key. Shift left clicking the Assign Status Effects button on the token HUD. Shift left clicking the status itself, or right clicking the newly added token HUD button and selecting the effect configs. What these allow you to do is, in response to a status effect being applied or removed, the HP value changing, or any of the token configuration values changing, to run a script, change the token image, apply a token configuration, or apply an overlay on top of the token. These mappings operate at two levels, a global level and a token actor-specific level. The global level mappings accessed via the Shift+G key will affect every single actor in your world. The actor-specific mappings, accessed by interacting with any of the token HUD elements, will only affect this specific actor and will overwrite any global mapping that has the exact same effect name. All right, so let's get into an example of effect mapping. So let's do it first at a global level. So let's press Shift plus G. We open up the global effect configuration menu, and let's create a new row. Let's say whenever that status effects is applied to a token, we want to change the token image to something else. And the way we would do it is type in the effect name to the text box over here and make sure that both that the capitalization of the effect name is the exact same as the actual status itself. And now what we have done is create a mapping between this configuration and this status effect. If we click apply, you'll notice that at the moment nothing changes, because what we essentially did is create a blank mapping. So what we can do now is apply various configurations upon the status effect being changed, now that the mapping exists. Let's ignore priority for now, and let's look into the token image. If we left click it, we'll open up the token variant art select menu. If we right click it, we'll open up a regular directory browser. So let's select an image. For now, let's choose any example. For example, let's choose this one and select apply. Now, whenever we apply the dead status effect, the token image will change. And if we remove it, the token will revert to the original. And as this is a global mapping, this will be the case for every actor in your world. All right, let's say we don't want to change the token image. Let's say instead we want to do something more reasonable and just change the actor tint to red. So to remove the token image, we just press the middle mouse button and it's removed. And now let's look under configuration. This is where we can set token configurations to be applied on tokens upon this effect being applied. All right, so if we press this little cog icon, we'll open up a token configuration menu, where we'll be able to select whatever configuration we want to be applied to the token. So let's, for example, change the tint to red. When I press Save Config, you'll see that now that the control turns orange, indicating that there is a token configuration present for this particular mapping. Now if we click Apply and apply a dead status effect, you see the token changes to red as per our configuration. All right, let's say instead we want to run a script. Let's first remove the configuration by clicking the cog icon again, selecting Remove Config, and now selecting this little play icon. Here we can set macros to be run either on apply or remove of the effect. As an example, let's say we want to run a notification applied to token.name. And let's replicate that, but instead say removed from token.name. In theory, now if we apply the dead status effect, we'll see a notification telling us that this particular effect got applied to Bayro, which is the name of this particular actor. And the same will happen with this token as well. Now it gets applied to parent. In addition to regular scripts, you'll notice that there's also a token magic effects little section over here. What this lets us to do, and to note that this will only appear if you have the token magic effects module installed, it will let us apply token magic effects presets. For example, an outline. Apply, apply, and now the dead status effect is applied, a magic effects filter will also get added as well. And of course removed whenever the effect is removed. Oh, this little icon over here just lets you to manually edit your configurations. But let's remove it for now. And let's move on to overlays. So an overlay is an image, a video, or text that gets applied to the token on top of it or below it. So if we select the checkbox over here, we'll see a new cog appear. Here we can now configure the overlay. For now, let's create a text. So let's say whenever the dead status effect is applied, we want to display the word dead on top of the token. Let's ignore all of the other settings for now and just click apply. Select apply again. And now when we apply the dead status effect, you see a piece of text appear. This is because the token is rotated. See, the overlay follows the token by default. This can be changed. Let's leave it like that for now. Let's go back into the overlay settings. And there's a neat feature that will allow you to preview any changes that you make to the overlay as long as there is an overlay actively applied on the scene. So for example, if we go in and change the font family, you'll see that the overlay changes to allow you to preview your different settings. Let that for now. We can change the font size, the fill color, change the stroke thickness, perhaps change the color to dark red. And we can also even apply a curve to a particular piece of text, or even invert it. Let's remove the curve for now. Click apply. There you go. You have a piece of text configured. If you want to apply an image or a video instead, you would go under the Appearance tab and then select the video you want to be displayed instead. Let's say instead of just the word dead, let's say our characters can't die. Let's say they get simply knocked out. We can display this rotating star video on top of the token, and now change various settings about it. And we can slightly adjust the offset to be right over the token's heads. Maybe adjust the scale a little bit. There you go, apply. And that's how you apply text, images, and video. One little neat feature that I'd like to point out is the filter tab over here, which can let you to apply very special effects. So just to make it a bit more clear, let's use the text over here instead. Let's make it white, blue, black outline. Let's go to the filters. For example, let's select the ASCII filter. And this can get applied both to video, images, as well as text, allowing you to achieve some cool effects. If you have Token Magic Effects installed, you'll also be able to apply Token Magic Effects filters. Now we can apply fire, blood, and more. And also, if you have Mass Edit installed, you'll have this little icon over here that will allow you to actively edit the effects as well via this neat UI. Alright, before we move on from overlays and overlay options, there are still two that I want to cover. So I believe we want to mess with these quite often. We go under the miscellaneous tab over here, and look under link to token, you'll find a number of properties that you can link to the token. For example, by default, the token's rotation is linked to the overlay. So when we rotate the token, the overlay will rotate together with the token. But we can unlink the rotation, in which case, now when we rotate the token, this overlay stays in place. It will still follow the token, but now the rotation is unlinked. And the next thing I want to mention is if we go under the text here, so at the moment we're just generating this static piece of text, dead, but you can actually use this curly brace notation to insert the effect name itself or particular properties of the token. So for example, we can enter the token name here. We see dead Beiro, dead parent. We can also point to properties like rotation. Okay, at the moment this token is rotated 15 degrees. This one 0. We can even point to the actor properties as well by typing in actor.name. The automatic is kind of hard to see, so let's disable the filter, scale it up a bit. See? It is playing dead followed by the actor name. Alright, well, let's leave it at that for overlays. You can explore all of the other settings on your own. And let's move on to this setting in the main configuration window called always on. So at the moment, we're triggering these overlays and applying configurations whenever an active effect is added to the token. However, if we, for example, disable it and leave that on this particular token, we can actually manually instruct a module to just leave this effect on, to just apply this configuration on top of the tokens. There you go. And if we disable it, we'll remove it from the token that doesn't have that status effect, but we'll still keep it on the one that does. And the last setting, which you will only see when accessing the global effect configurations, is to configure the applicable actors. So because these global effects apply to every single actor in this world, this is just a means to limit it to just the player characters or to NPCs. Alright, so we've covered the global effect configs and its various settings, but as I mentioned at the beginning of this particular section of the video, we can actually add mappings specifically to the actor. So if we interact with any of the token HUD elements, as I mentioned before, for example, by shift left clicking the assign status effects config button over here, or right clicking this button and going to effect configs, we'll access actor specific mappings, and these will overwrite the global ones. So for example, at the moment, the global effect mapping is displaying the static piece of text dead followed by the actor name, but we can actually change this. For example, we can either create it from scratch, or we can actually choose to copy a global config. Pressing copy over here, selecting the global config, clicking copy, and here you go. Now we duplicated the global effect under this token. But let's go in and change a few settings. Let's say we actually don't want to display the actor name for this specific actor. And reduce the scale again. Let's say we just want it to be red. Click apply, apply. And as you see, now that we have a specific mapping for this actor, that mapping overrides the global one, which is still applicable to this actor. If we shift left click on this actor's assign status effects button, you see we have no mappings. So it is inheriting from the global mappings instead. Shift plus G, global effect configurations. We have the dead status effect. So this actor is taking sourcing from the global effect configurations. But because this particular actor now has a mapping specific to dead, It is overriding the global effect and using its own. All right, now I've yet to mention what priority does, so let's just set up a quick example of it, a visual example of it. Another feature is that if you shift left click any of these status effects, the module will actually automatically generate a default mapping and configuration for you. So if we shift left click unconscious here, the module will automatically insert a row for unconscious effect. And if we click apply unconscious, you'll see that the module will display this kind of curved, rotated piece of text with the effect's name. So giving you a sort of kind of condition ring type of effect. So let's quickly set up a bunch of these for sleep, stunned, prone, and apply a bunch of these. You see at the moment they're overlapping on top of each other. And see the unconscious is behind all of these other effects. But we can actually use priority to indicate to the module what we want to be displayed on top of all of the other overlays. So that if for whatever reason we want the unconscious to be on top of all the other overlays, we just type in a priority that is higher than any of the others. We click apply. See, unconscious now displays on top. All right, but I believe that's pretty much it for overlays. Oh, it is actually possible to export all of these. If click this export button, you can actually export all of these configurations you have set up for this particular actor and output it as a JSON file. And then, for example, you can import it under this actor. If left click this on status effects, click on import, use file, open, import, and see, now you replicated all of the effects that we set up for this actor under this one. So far, we've been setting up effect mappings that respond to active effects being applied or removed from tokens, or activating them manually using the always on option. However, the module can actually respond to a lot more than just the status effects. All right, for example, let's for a moment disable all of these effects and set up a new one that responds to the HP value of the token. So let's say we want the token to be tinted red whenever the HP value drops below 0, drops below 50%, let's say. So we type in HP and then less than 50%. And now the module will actually respond to a particular actor dropping below 50%. So if we now assign a tint to this mapping, click Save Config, apply. Now, so this particular actor has 10 hit points. So if we drop him to 4, see, he gets tinted red. Same for this one. He also has 10 HP. So if we go to 4, up to, they're red. And if we go back up above 50%, the configuration gets removed. So you can specify percentages or exact values. For example, if we instead want to turn the token red when the HP value is 1, we can just change it to HP equals 1. Now if we set it to 2, nothing happens, but if we set it to 1, the token once again turns red. It gets removed when we're above 1. So besides HP, we can also respond to token properties. So let's say we want to change the color of the token, and this doesn't have to be a configuration. As we saw before, we can run scripts, apply token magic effects, filters, display overlays in response to every effect that we're setting up here. May it be status effect or token property. So let's say you have rotation, and let's say if the rotation is above 180 degrees, we will color the token blue. Click apply. Now, if we rotate the token, at some point, once the token is above 180 degrees, see, it turns blue. If you go all the way around up to 360 and back to 0, see, the token changes back. So again, this can be any token property pretty much. And you can actually even combine these. So for example, let's say we want the token color to only change if the token's value, HP value is 1 and the rotation is above 180 degrees. So you can type in these two and signs, and now the module will only change the tint color to yellow, let's say. Oh, let's make it more obvious, pink. We'll only change the token to this pink color if the HP value is simultaneously 1 and the token's rotation is greater than 180 degrees. So we click apply. Now we can rotate the token as much as we want, nothing happens. But now if we change the token's HP value to 1, now we rotate the token. See, once the token is above, once the token's rotation is above 180 degrees, because its value, HP value is 1, this color gets changed. You can specify any logical expression over here. So for example, you could say or. So now, if the token's value is HP value is 1, or its rotation is above 180 degrees, the token's color will change to pink. So because the token is now of HP value 1, you see it will always be pink. If we change the HP value to 5, now the token will only turn pink when the rotation is above 180 degrees. And you can use even more complicated expressions than that. For example, if you enter curly brace, if you surround it by parentheses, you can say if the HP value is equal to 1, all rotations above 180 degrees, or HP value is equal to 2, then the token will turn pink. And you can pretty much define as complicated of an expression here as you wish. You can even drop in the active effect names into here as well. But pretty much the sky is the limit for this. If you want to see all of the available logical expressions and some examples of what sort of token properties you can include in here, you can refer this little question mark over here. If you hover over it, a helpful tooltip will show up. I don't think you can see it in the video recording, unfortunately, but if you hover over it, you will see all of the options available to you and you can play around with this. Yeah, with this, I believe we are done with the effect mappings. I guess we'll be closing out the video. Okay, I hope you found the video useful. If you want to look into every single setting that the module provides in a little bit more depth, you can refer to the module's GitHub page. But otherwise, I'd like to just thank all of the patrons that have been supporting me. I hope I can continue working on the token variant art as well as some of my other modules going forward. But yeah, I guess I'll sign out here. Have a good one. See you next time.